Hey guys, welcome to our podcast where it has to be said, my name is Elvis.
And I'm Denise.
Babe, let's talk.
Let's talk.
So what we're going to talk about tonight.
It definitely feels a lot better than last week here recording.
Oh, that
The temperature was
oh yeah, it feels
so
good in
hot.
here. Yeah. That's why I got a sweater on.
I didn't even look in the video to see if you saw like me all shiny from sweat.
Oh,
I was sweating.
yeah, I was all shiny in that first video we did.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, so soon we'll probably set up in the basement.
Yeah, because in the summer we're not gonna be able to do that.
Well, I think we could put the AC in the window and then, let it cool in for a little bit and then record.
That makes sense.
But let's figure that out later while we're talking about that
no,
right
but
now.
it's like way better than last week. I was a little bit traumatized last week. But anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about parenting. Elvis and I have been parents forever. Half of our lives. And kind of talking a little bit about the impact children have in a marriage, in a relationship. They do affect the dynamic of the relationship, right? Elvis and I never had the luxury of knowing what it would be like to be in a relationship for a while without children, right?
Yeah.
We jumped into marriage and children all at once. And that's like we talk about it in our first two episodes. And
Yeah, so if you haven't watched those first videos, go watch those videos.
Yes.
They're good. But we've been married for 14 years. We have two beautiful kids.
Yes.
4-year-old now and a 13-year-old.
Yep. And but it hasn't been easy. Because, like we had shared before, at the beginning of our relationship, our marriage, it was chaos like that first year. And then adding a child and the responsibility of caregiving, it was just another layer. And it just added more to some of the friction and arguments that we had.
Yeah, I also think that at the very beginning, we were learning how to be parents. I think more than anything else, right? And we kind of wanted to do everything perfect. I think both of us did. And we expected our kid not to be a kid.
I don't think we both wanted it to be perfect.
I did.
You were working most of the time in the beginning for Ellie.
I know, but when she was already bigger, that I was more in the house, then that's when I'm like, I kind of want her to have the best grades. I want her to be the best student. I want her to be the best of everything. I think every parent wants that.
Yeah, but that's more of like a parenting style. I'm talking more about how the stress of having children impacts us, like our relationship.
Okay.
Right? And it's kind of like, well, what you're saying is more tied to, I think it's kind of a little bit of our ego of what people think of us as parents. And no one wants to hear anything negative about their own kid. Like no parent's gonna want to be like, oh yeah, my kid is this or that.
They all flip.
Right?
If you hear something bad about your kid, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's hard to not take it
Look
personal.
at your kid.
Yeah, you're right. It's like no parent wants to hear that. But in the sense that doing the routine work of parenting affects, your intimacy with your partner, how we've spoken before in other episodes about who does what, that also becomes a big issue when it comes to with children too. Of like
That's always an issue.
I know, but I'm saying with specifically with kids, it becomes like a thing. I think every couple that has a kid that is added into the relationship has a little bit of who's doing what when it comes to the baby.
Be specific on that. Be specific. Like what?
Specific,
Yeah, like tailor a little bit into that.
For
That's
example, perfect example. Elvis.
Oh, I didn't say be specific about me, but go ahead. Go ahead. Feel free. The camera's rolling.
Elvis always had this thing about changing the girls' Pampers. Right? And he always used the excuse. I say it's an excuse because that was just him of trying to avoid the responsibility of changing the Pampers. And I always felt like that was unfair because I'm like, you're their dad. So regardless, you're their father. It's okay for you to change their pamper. I mean, I'm not saying like if I wasn't home that he would leave them with soiled diapers.
Never that. Yeah. Be specific, please.
But I'm just saying, like, most of the diaper changings fell on me.
Yeah, when you were home.
Yes, which was most of the time. So, it was annoying because it's like, help out in that. Another example.
I'm listening.
And I'm
I
only
didn't
giving
say no.
examples related to me. I can't give examples related to somebody else because I don't know how everyone else lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another example. When I first started, for both kids, I was like, oh, let me try breastfeeding. Obviously, if you're the mother breastfeeding, the feeding falls solely on you. So that was another thing that he wouldn't be able to help in. Like,
I
yeah,
apologize. I just want to apologize real quick. I can't breastfeed, so I will be incapable of doing that.
I know.
I just have to admit right now, in front of the camera, in front of everybody that's watching the video, I cannot do that. There's a certain limit
Shut
that a
up.
man can get to, so I can't do that. But go ahead, babe.
But if you were like me, stop, not
You
producing
wouldn't
enough,
be married to me if I was like you.
stop, not able to produce enough to like bottle feed, it could be stressful. So like things like that, right? Or waking up at night, that was for Elenice, that was a big challenge. And I think that would cause issues. So, those are common issues: feeding, diaper changes, who wakes up for the baby at night. What else are the things? Like if they're going to a daycare or babysitter, who's the one that has to take the baby, who has to pick up, right? And then if you're both working, it's kind of like no one wants to do the pickup, no one might want to do the drop off. Like it's always something that affects and impacts the relationship when you have children.
Yeah, it's true. I think you were talking more about the same thing we always talk about, that you always want me to do a whole bunch of
I
stuff.
didn't say
And
you.
but you were giving examples of me because you could have gave example about anything else. But you
But it's our
decided you started to
relationship.
talk about, yeah, but we could talk about statistics, research, or whatever it is,
I
but
don't
we didn't
have
have it.
statistics or
Okay,
research.
so that's our homework. We'll come back with those type of
Exactly.
numbers. Um, but I think even if you take the kids out of the equation, I think in a relationship in general, you're always going to be measuring who does well, who's doing more, and stuff like that. But does the kids affect in one way or another in our daily routine? Yeah, I mean, I just think it just adds up another layer of stress.
I think like a double layer of stress, honestly.
Well, it depends the kid
Um,
and depends the age.
no, but even from just even a baby, it's stressful to when you're like
It
especially
is and it's not because all they do is eat and sleep.
to you, but when you're the one that's deprived, and I'm not saying
There we go again attacking.
you, but
Let's
if the
control ourselves a little
if
bit.
a mother, if the mother is the one primarily waking up for the baby, right? And the father gets to be knocked out, right?
She's not using me as an example, by the way. Let's just stay clear.
She's sleep deprived, right? She's going through all these hormonal changes, right? From not having the baby no longer inside, right? She is struggling with sleep, not probably feeding herself properly, right? Because she's catering to the feeding, to the diaper changing, to the need of the baby who is more vulnerable the smaller they are. That's gonna impact, it's gonna cause her to be more irritable, disconnected. She might not even want to be intimate or do anything else because she's like so warped up into that mommy bubble, especially when you're a mom for the first time. Like that's all of a sudden instantly or you feel like is expected of you, right? Like it's almost like once you become a mother, and I'm not saying that doesn't the fathers don't feel the same way, but I can only speak about me as a mom. It's kind of like once you become a mother, your
I wasn't gonna say nothing about
just
the
in case
guys.
your needs, you have to go last almost. That's always the message, right? And the reality is if you don't take care of yourself as the caregiver, you ain't gonna have much to give. You're gonna be giving like minimal
Yeah,
to the your child and to your family, and it's gonna impact every aspect of your home.
it's kind of scary when you have a kid at the first time too. I think you don't have the answers to everything, and I think that's scary. You're kind of responsible for somebody else completely,
Mm-hmm.
and you start learning how much you love somebody so fast. And I think for the first time, it's scary for both of us.
Yeah.
I would say it's a different level of scary because you were carrying the baby inside. Um, so I wouldn't say like more or less or stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I think for me, I would look at the baby and I'm like, oh my God, this is my baby, my child. So yeah, it's scary.
And we were so young.
Yeah.
you
We
like
were kids. We
like
were, we were kids. Let's be honest.
I had just turned 18, and then to just and give birth the next
Not
month.
only that, but we were also involved so much in church that we didn't have a lot of freedom. That when you become an adult, you do have that freedom. So I think we were trying to do a little bit of everything at the
Well,
same
that
time.
stopped. Our involvement stopped when I became pregnant.
Correct. Yeah.
We kind of took you had to
You
stop.
have to. Yeah.
Um, and so, it was just so much adjustments happening all at once. And I think that when you're in a relationship, having conversations about maybe expectations of what caregiving may look like before even having children would be beneficial. It doesn't mean that it's going to come out the way you plan it, right? Because even there's women that do like a birth plan, and it don't come out the way it plans, because you don't know how much pain you're going to be in. When is your water gonna break, or what is gonna happen that's gonna lead you to birth? So it's like you can set, maybe have conversations with your partner about, all right, are we gonna do what are we gonna do? Like, I've seen on TikTok, and I showed Elvis, like, there's some guys that take over the morning part of the day. So like, they let the wife sleep in and handle like the breakfast part of with the kids and things like that, to give mom rest. Things like that, which he does on weekends. Overall, is he's usually the one that wakes up before me for the most part. So, but I tell you this, as they get older, it does become a little bit easier because they become much more independent.
Yeah.
Um,
But you deal with other headaches.
yes, it's
Where
true.
I like boys.
Yep.
I'm in love.
Or they
Or
entitled to their opinion, and they have
yeah, well, I
these
want to speak
strong
everything. I
beliefs.
want to speak about everything. I'm gonna open a group against these rights and those rights and all that type of stuff. Yeah, so it becomes the challenges of life. As
Hmm.
we grow older, we're gonna have different challenges. And I think going back to your question since the very beginning, how does it affect this? Right? I think we're gonna have different stages at the very beginning. We're not gonna know what to do as a couple,
Hmm.
and I think not knowing what to do as a couple, we often neglect a lot of different stuff that we should not neglect
Hmm.
in a relationship. Like, we should still, right, if we have support around us, still have date nights,
Hmm.
still have our sit down communication. I think sometimes we just need to sit down and see how we're doing,
Yeah.
right? Movie nights, show nights. Let's find a show that we could watch together. Let's see if we could go together to church and worship God, read the Bible, which we need to do more of. Um, just different stuff that we're both involved,
Hmm.
and we're not both involved just because the kid is there,
Yep.
right? I think we have to find out as a couple to do things that unify us, but not just because we have our child, and not that we want to neglect our child because we love them. I think that's the biggest privilege, but we also have to worry about us
I mean, you were a
because
unit before the baby came.
not only that, but later on they grow
Yeah.
and they leave us. We're left alone. So if we evolved our relationship only on our kids, then when that piece leaves, we're no longer happy,
Hmm.
right? And I think that's what happens with a lot of couples where, right, let's just say not in the beginning, but just mid, when the kid's a little bit bigger, that you could travel 3, 4 years old, and you have the resources and the finances to be either to travel outside or even locally or even to the park and spend time together. I think that a lot of times couples are like, no, I don't want to do it because I don't want to go without my kid. And if you don't learn how to do that at an early stage, you're never going to have that one on one with your couple.
Yeah.
And it's a much needed. Like right now, we're in a place where I'm like, babe, at least, right? I'm just saying now that we're able to do it, to at least travel you and me. Like, I'm not going to feel bad that I left the girls with grandma, and we're grateful to you enough that we're able to do that. Some people are not able
Yeah.
to do that, but I'm saying if you are, take advantage, because later on, either you're going to be old, or you're not going to have the finances, or your health is not going to be where you're supposed to do, or you're not going to have the time. So I think that if you start doing that from now, and I'm not saying only traveling, you could go to McDonald's and have a date, right? Just to be a little bit more drastic, the 99 cents menu. Just get
I don't
time.
even know if they have a dollar menu anymore.
You shouldn't be eating there anyways. But that's a different topic. And per Jack, bro. That's a different topic. I just think in general we have to find a way, as couples with kids, to have time for
Yeah.
us, right? And it could be the dumbest things, right? Because we could play a board game, we could draw something, which I hate drawing, but it's just a time that's you and me that we
Hmm.
can
So we're
laugh.
gonna do a paint night then?
We'll find something else to
No.
do. Once we finish the patio, we could do something in the backyard.
It's like no.
No, listen, it's the you could do so many different things,
Yeah.
right? And I think the point is finding time for you guys to spend time, and it doesn't have to be costly. Sometimes it
Hmm.
is, sometimes it's not, right?
Yeah.
But again, we go back to the love language too. You got to see what works for your relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm buying you a whole bunch of stuff and that's not your love language, right? It's more about
Yeah.
acts of service, then I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna serve you, I'm gonna put the chair back, sit
Yeah.
down, bring you everything, right? Because it's act of service. So I think that if we find to do that as couples, we'll be in a good place.
Yeah. I think adding to making time with your partner is intimacy.
Yeah.
You know, that's a form of intimacy, but also sex.
Yeah.
I feel that um
Yo, even if you gotta schedule it. Like, no, let's be honest. If you are busy, no, because a lot of people think like, yo, you can't schedule. Listen, if you're both busy,
it's
right,
crazy,
and you
yeah.
and you have your girl, especially at older age, where you don't want to pop up. So I'm like, all right, let's do it when they're not there, right? We don't want to hear them. We don't want them to hear any noises. So no, let's be honest. If you gotta schedule it, you gotta schedule
Yeah.
it. Like,
And I think that it's funny because you and I've had spoken about it before that it's crazy because when we were young, right? And like operating in the lust of just the carne,
hmm
that's all you think about, right, when you're
yeah,
young, right? Once you do it for the first time, that's all you care about, right?
yeah,
Nothing else matters. You're just so caught up in the moment of, having sex,
hmm
right? And then you get into marriage and then you add children into the relationship and that almost becomes foreign
yeah.
to the relationship,
Which you
right?
shouldn't.
Because, sometimes you have families that co-sleep, that sleep with their kids in the room or in the bed, we did have Ellie sleep. She slept in
I,
our room.
I'm bad with that. I love when the girls
But
sleep with me.
she slept like in a sleeping bag. She didn't sleep necessarily for a long time in our bed.
I love when they
Um,
sleep with me. It doesn't matter. They can
and
sleep
with
with me
Alina,
every
I'd be
night.
like, yo, bro, like, I'm
You
trying to have some adult time.
no, you don't. But that's why I said sometimes you gotta schedule it because I know. Listen, if she said Thursday ain't nobody sleeping with me. Actually, go sleep upstairs with your sister. I mean, you're not walking around. That's what I'm
Yeah.
referring to.
I mean, you still got to be spontaneous. It's not like we schedule everything.
No, no, I'm
But
not
he's
saying
just
we do it. I'm
but
just
it's just an
saying,
example of like sometimes it gets to that point cuz you're so caught up in everything.
yeah,
And it's kind of like you both as partners need to feel like that spice like, "Oh, I want to feel attractive still to you like despite, all my little what is it? Stretch marks and my all my
don't worry, baby. I love you the way you
all
are.
my belly fat, like I'm still attractive too. Like he still finds me attractive. So having also that intimate part is essential to your relationship.
I agree, and we always got to make things spicy. Like we can't be
Mhm.
doing the same way all the time. Like,
Yeah.
and I gotta find a way to satisfy you too, and you
Mhm.
gotta find us a way that satisfies me too. Like we have to. This is a continue trying to let me please you type of deal, right?
Yeah.
And more than anything else, I want to make you happy.
Yeah.
That's my job. I feel like is to make you happy.
Yeah. And we don't want these kids getting in the way of that happiness.
Yeah, right.
Which is normal. And it happens. It's so hard for them not to be first and not be like everything that we focus on. But we're more than just mom and dad,
Yeah,
right? We're Elvis. Before being mom and dad, we were Elvis and Denise, right?
yeah,
As a couple. But before that, we were two individuals. And I think when we come into marriage and have children, we lose our individuality,
yeah.
right? The idea of that, yes, the two become one, meaning we're one unit, but we're two people, right? We're going to think differently. We're going to act differently. There's going to be different interests that we have. So it's important also to kind of give space for your partners to have their own thing, right? Like Elvis likes to go to the gym. That's his thing.
I'm finally back, guys.
Yeah.
Finally a weekend, and I feel like
But I see a difference in his attitude about like just him. Not that he's been like He's been down in the sense like because he's physically wasn't where he wants to be.
Yeah, it's not even about that. It's just going to the gym, and I went today with the guys, and it's just
Like de-stressing, right?
think about it. Today when I went with Isaac. By the way, he did amazing. I went with Isaac and
Joey.
Joey. I was like, "Yo, scream, bro!" I was like, "Yo, you can't push your scream." And I think like, I don't know, that just drives me to kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, that recharges me for the rest of
Yeah.
the days coming up. So
Yeah.
I think if you do find something that you like doing, just do it.
You see how excited he is about it?
Yeah, I went to the gym today. I'm excited.
He is. That and the cars too.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have a thing yet. I
The
always
thing
say
is,
that.
I haven't had time for the stuff of the car because I've been dealing so much with the house. You know, I'm working on the
Mhm.
basement, then I'm working on the yard, then I gotta go to Puerto Rico. So I'm kind of flipping a whole bunch of stuff at once. So it's like, I kind of have to figure out what's more important at the same time. Again, we go back to time management where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I can't neglect Denise either because I'm going to Puerto Rico, so I gotta make sure that I have enough time with you too.
Yeah. But he lucks out because Denise be tired. When I'm tired, I'm like, yeah, you go ahead. You go do what you
Sure,
gotta do.
yeah.
And yeah, so I think you gotta have your things too. That's important. I'm still working on making time for myself. Cause I do my nails and I do my hair like during my lunch break, but I feel like that doesn't count.
But you got the book club too.
Yeah, yeah, I know because I
And
feel
you're
like
very involved in church.
yeah, but you gotta have your own like something separate. Like I don't know, I want to go back maybe to Soul Cycle, like something
Oh, go for it.
physically active. I don't know. We'll see.
Or hiking. We got areas around here that you could do some. Comment below
But that's
what
not
Denise should
something.
look into
But
doing
I
moving
wouldn't do that
forward.
alone.
You don't gotta do it alone. I'll do hiking
Oh
with
yeah,
you.
because I'm like, what I like going to the mountains by myself.
Yeah, let's get suggestions.
Yeah, but I think it's important to have your thing as a couple and when you're, with family and it's kind of like finding a balance of making time for one-on-one and also making time to do activities with your children, right?
Yeah.
And like how Alvis said with your partner, with your children, it doesn't have to cost much, right? Finding like local museums, parks, gardens, things that whatever is up like appropriate
Listen,
for the age of that
they're
child.
gonna be entertained with anything you do. I
Yep.
think with you spending time with your kids alone, that just fills them up with joy, right?
That's all they want.
Um, I take Elena to
Mhm.
McDonald's and she could eat her right. She's 4. She'll eat her nuggets and then she'll be running inside like the
Yeah.
jumpy place and stuff like that. And with Elenice, if I take her to Sephora and go see some stuff for the face and all that stuff because I'm into all that stuff too. I like it. She's happy,
Yeah.
right? So I think if you find a way of spending time with them and look into what they want, so I think having that daughter or mother, right? Because you want to have your mother daughter date nights,
Mhm.
right? You haven't done that, and she actually asked you to do
Yep.
that. So I think a lot of times we don't realize how important we are in our kids' lives, and we kind of have to reevaluate that and make sure that we're present and that we know that they know that we see them.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
That's all they want, essentially, love. I
Yeah.
mean, look at Alina all the time. She'll be like, "Mommy, do you have to go?" Like, she'll be like, "No, stay here, stay with me. Don't go to work."
Hmm.
Like, or come sit with me. Like, she just wants you there, and it's just finding a balance to do it all,
Yeah.
because it's not easy to have to be there, right? Because Ellie has, she's older, she has certain needs and wants you there in one way, right? Alina's there, has her certain needs and wants you there in a certain way. Then there's you that wants me in a certain way. So it's kind of like finding
All of that, plus you got work, plus you got
how
church.
to manage it all, right? Because imagine all three wanting to be with me all at the same time, but all three wanting different things. Like you just be like
Well, that's why
overload.
that's why I think you should have days where, for example, we watch a lot of movies. All of
Mhm.
us just watching movies and Alina on her tablet watching her own YouTube videos.
Yeah, because she still
So,
don't.
but I feel
Hmm.
like that's also very good. Or we're in the backyard just talking,
Yeah.
right? Because the weather's getting better, so we're able to just sit down there, or even have dinner. If you realize a lot when we do have dinner, because a lot of times, we don't get a chance to all eat together, but when we do, put the phones to the side and let's just talk. What's going
Yeah.
on in your life? So I think those little times, those little moments are key elements for not only your kids, but your wife, your husband as well.
Yeah. And don't get us wrong, kids are a blessing.
They are.
We love our kids, but it's not easy. It's not a easy journey. Um and it does impact a lot of in your relationship, everything of yourself. You unlearn to learn again, right? And every time think you mastered one milestone, here comes a new milestone with the kid,
Yep,
right?
I
A
agree.
different age groups, a different challenge. But I think the best takeaway of what Elvis is saying is taking time to be intentional to get to know your partner, your children, and what works for your relationship and making the time,
Absolutely.
So as hard as can get, it's still manageable. We've managed to survive,
Yeah, we're doing good.
you know.
And the girls are doing good. We got them involved in everything right now. I feel like
Hmm.
we're doing a little bit here, a little bit there. So
Yeah.
it's good.
And we're still learning. So it's kind of being open and honest about learning and not thinking you know it all as a parent
Yeah,
and as a partner.
you gotta remember you were a kid too.
Hmm.
I remember I knew it all, and all adults didn't know nothing. They were all dumb and old. So that's the way I thought. And I hear my daughter saying
Now
that
we're
we're
dumb and old.
old, and not the dumb part. She told you you dumb.
No,
She didn't
she
tell me
won't.
I'm dumb,
She probably
but she
thinks it.
said that we're old, and that kind of put me a thing. Like, man, I used to think the same exact
Hmm.
way. So it's like just kind of move a little bit back, and I'm not saying be bad or good. I'm just saying like put yourself in their shoes. They're probably going through a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah.
So good talk.
Yep. To be said.
And it was set. Take care, guys.
Bye.